Drew Nizer here with another Tuesday tip. We all want to have great customer testimonials, but there's all sorts of things that come into play with this. So I've asked Carlos Carvajal, the CMO of K2, to share 3 tips on how to get and use customer stories. So Carlos, give us first tip for customer stories.
So the first tip would be to really go deep on the customers that you have and look for the stories as far as that align well with the message that you're trying to drive in market. So we wanted to drive messages around mission critical processes, things that drove digital transformation, customer onboarding, things of that nature. And that's the first tip, is to really identify those customers that can really reinforce the key message that you as CMO want to drive in market.
Perfect. And what's interesting to me, I boil that down to relevance. Is the story that they're telling about their business and their relationship with you relevant to the story that you want to put out in the marketplace, and hopefully relevant to what the marketplace wants to hear from you? All right, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2.
Tip number 2, and it ties into the theme of teamwork as well, is really take the time to come up with an approach on how to harvest these stories internally. That's one of the things that is a challenge for a lot of companies. It's amazing that there are these great customer stories out there that may be buried within your professional services organization or somebody in support. There are a lot of great stories, and you need to make sure that you're getting all those out in the open in a way that you can actually discover them and find out about them. So it's so important to have a good way to harvest the stories, incent your employees to actually share these stories, because you can find gold out there that you may not know exists. So I would say having a good collaborative way with incentives to drive harvesting with your partners in customer success, customer support, and services is also very critical.
That's so interesting, and it never occurred to me that we would actually incentivize our employees to find these stories, but it makes total sense, because if you're in a large organization, you might not ever hear them, and it would have been a random process. Hey, I got a customer over here who's doing this. But now, because we started, tip number 1 was about relevance, it's easier to put it out there and say, hey, find stories that relate to this, our Uber story. And by the way, it's worth your time because it's incented. Okay, that's great. Tip number 3.
Tip number 3 is go above and beyond. Invest more, almost overinvest in the quality of the assets, and especially the video testimonials that you create for the customers, because those become great marketing tools for your champions internally at their organizations. And that's the feedback that we got from customers. It's like, wow, these videos are amazing. Our employees love them. The team is so excited about that. And they become your best champions to get more videos from other customers. So it's great.
Yeah, no, there's a wonderful virtuous circle here, in that if a customer likes the story that you produce, they'll share it internally. And the industry will say, oh, wait, I want one of those too. How do I get on this? And next thing you know, it's a lot easier to get customer testimonial stories, because you can say, hey, look at this one. It looks pretty darn good. Okay, so we had 3 tips here for improving your customer stories. 1, making sure that the story is relevant to your bigger brand promise and that you're putting out in the marketplace. 2, incent your employees to gather the stories that are most relevant. And 3, invest in the production qualities such that your customers actually want to share and use those videos. Carlos, awesome tip. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Drew.